Hi, this is your host, Jeff Ragavin, and you're listening to Marketing Mix, where we hear from some of the most influential CMOs of today to discuss the strategies of tomorrow. Welcome to Marketing Mix. Today, I'm here with Alysse Burroni. Alysse is the Director of Brand Marketing at SnackNation. Alysse, it's great to have you on the show.
It's great to be on. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, I actually love having guests on the show when we're talking about food, always.
Yeah, like you just can't go wrong with snacks.
Exactly. So, Alysse, for some of our listeners that are tuning in, talk to us a little bit about what SnackNation is.
Sure. So SnackNation is a smart marketplace where we introduce emerging artisanal brands to America's most forward-thinking companies. And so what that basically means is we're a snack box delivery service for corporate offices across the country. We're in just under 6,000 offices now and work with about 1,000 brand partners, all of which adhere to the Whole Foods undesirables ingredients list.
Awesome. So you guys service a lot of companies, a lot of hungry people. Is there any specific products that you guys have seen most recently that people are like, we must have this in our office? It is so delicious.
We see typically nuts perform really well just as a category as a whole. Consumer behavior, typically when you're looking for a snack, you want something that's crunchy, that will basically just kind of satiate the need to be chewing on something. Snacks in particular that do well, like Pipcorn performs really well in our boxes. ZZ's granola bars, just super emerging. It's a really, really good kind of chewy granola bar. People use that in the mornings. Funky Chunky is kind of a popcorn nutty fudgy mixture. Am I making you very hungry?
I actually, and you know what? I haven't eaten yet either.
Same.
One thing that is huge in our office that I've seen people, like when we get it, people go absolutely crazy for it. And, I try to get it, but it's gone before I get to the kitchen is jerky, like any
Yeah.
type of jerky.
Yes, jerky has just absolutely catapulted in the snack world, and has just grown into this really incredible category where you have imitation jerkies now. So there's vegan jerkies, there's fish jerkies.
Most recently, kelp jerky.
Yes. And to be completely honest, the reason why we're a smart marketplace is that we actually take all of our consumer data. It mainly comes from our direct-to-consumer snack box delivery service called Love with Food. But we take that data that we survey out to members and funnel it back to the brand partners. We also use that data to help to kind of dictate what snacks go to which members. But we see the imitation jerkies perform pretty poorly.
Now, for people who are in the office and they're snacking away and they go to their HR person or somebody who's managing the food and they're like, hey, where do we get these from? And they find out, yeah, it's from SnackNation. Can somebody say, well, I want to get these snacks at home? Can they order for you? Is it strictly only through offices?
Absolutely. They can go on our website. So it's snacknation.com. You can immediately choose if you are an office. So if you're looking for snacks for your office or if you're looking for snacks for your home. And then that redirects you immediately to our direct to consumer brand, which is Love with Food. And that has a variety of also Whole Foods undesirables ingredients list, clean, amazing snacks that you can get on a subscription to your home.
Cool. One of the biggest trends that we're seeing, and even to our business at Social Native, we've had customers that have reached out to us, is really, the entire marketplace around CBD and food and oil and all of that. Have you guys seen anything as far as a demand now that it's kind of like everywhere? Is there anything maybe you could talk about with, you're in the industry, so kind of seeing some of this movement into CBD?
Yeah, it's been pretty incredible to watch CBD grow and propel into the natural products space. I think it's somewhat taboo, honestly,
Yeah.
and therefore fairly sensitive. Natural Products Expo West is the largest natural food show in the world. We call it the Super Bowl of snacks. And this year, it was the first year where they introduced CBD products. And I'm mainly seeing it in teas and topicals. So think like oils, lotions, right? I'm starting to hear murmurs of CBD infused snacks. I think we will have trepidation on supplying those. Maybe there's probably a world in which we would have some sort of beta or pilot program with more progressive offices, probably like coastal cities.
Yeah.
Um,
I live in New York, and I just the other day I was in the store, and it was a generic deli on the corner, and
hmm.
marijuana is not even legal in New York State like it is in California, but they had CBD chocolates at the counter. I mean, it's kind of insane. You'd never see products like this in a million years until most recently. How do you think, even from a brand perspective, how are they, or even how are you getting around taboos that come with that type of marketing?
Yeah, I think from a marketing perspective, there's a lot of education to be done. So much like anytime you're introducing a new food to the market, you need to educate. So let's think of, I don't know, some sort of kale infused product or a kale based product. Let's think of like Vegan Robs has a kale chip, right? Vegan Robs, when they first created the product, probably had to do some educating on kale to
Hmm.
markets that weren't used to seeing it as regularly as we are here in LA, or you out in New York are used to seeing that and understand what the health benefits are. Same thing here. There's going to have to be an educational curve in order to push past what I basically view as a cultural tension. But I think you can capitalize on that cultural tension as a brand. I even just yesterday saw an article in Food Tech Connect. I'm subscribed to their newsletter, and it's just an aggregate of tons of articles in the industry. And there's been a lot of consumer chatter on Twitter
Hmm.
wanting CBD Oreos,
Oh,
which
I saw that actually.
yeah, I mean, I, predictable, right?
Yeah.
But Mondelez, responded in the press, and they alluded to a potential exploration of CBD infused products, not for their more mainstream, traditional family brands such as an Oreos, but for something new and emerging.
It's so interesting. Let's jump out of CBD before we get into a
Before we get too high.
yeah, exactly, no pun intended there, right? So, let's talk a little bit. You just mentioned a few minutes ago about, consumer data and looking at insights. What are some of the things that you're hearing from customers as far as product? Are they telling you whether they love something, they don't like something, or are they giving you insight into, hey, we really would love if you guys carried X, Y, and Z?
Yeah, we get consumer insights we're in every single office across the country. And our direct to consumer office has a similar blueprint. And so we definitely get a large range of consumer insights. And we're seeing that consumers are really open to and really want better options.
Hmm.
So the days of the big brands, it's kind of, we're in a situation where big is bad and artisanal is king. And so we're seeing the shift to consumers wanting, and we don't have to talk about consumers like they're in a microcosm, right? It's you and I, as much as we love Oreos, they're filled with chemicals. And
Hmm.
so we want to, ensure that we're putting nourishing, better fuel, better ingredients into our bodies. And so there's definitely the need from a business perspective and from a consumer demand perspective. In terms of what we're seeing from consumers, there's definitely a desire for, as I said, the nuts. Chips are a big category, as well as popcorns.
Hmm.
Bars are seen as like kind of a meal replacement or really functional and mobile. So every snack category definitely has its place, and we definitely, are seeing a love for indulgence across the board. Indulgent snacks perform really well because you can't just make a product that tastes like tree bark anymore. The market is saturated. It has to taste really good. And so when I mentioned Funky Chunky earlier, which we actually have SnackNation Insights Awards, where we look at the top ranked brands, Funky Chunky is a very indulgent yet clean labeled Whole Foods approved brand.
Hmm. Interesting. Now, from a business perspective, right? So Snack Nation itself you guys are a subscription service, correct?
That's right.
Has it always been subscription?
Yeah, we've always had membership, a snack box delivery service that was positioned as a membership. We actually shy away from the word subscription from a positioning standpoint. That feels it feels harsh. It feels like, oh, okay, I have to buy into something. It almost feels like kind of that antiquated term associated with like a magazine subscription. Like, what am I paying for?
Well, and
So
people are also somewhat scared of commitment, or when they're like, "Oh, I'm in a subscription now," right? So I could understand why you guys would want to shy away from that.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. And so membership for us feels, and we know this, it reigns true for our members on the consumer side, so offices and homes, and also for our brand partners. Membership feels more communal. We're
mhm.
building a community. We're helping people to make more conscious food decisions. And so that's kind of the positioning there on the
I agree.
membership side.
That's a good way to tackle it.
Yeah,
So you guys literally did a complete rebrand about a year ago.
that's right.
So I think there's a lot of people that tune into the show, mainly, they're marketing execs, they're branding people, and they're always looking for insight and, how people did this and how people did that. And I think, we haven't really talked too much on the show about rebrand, but since you've just gone through it, talk to us a little bit about one, what you did, why it was necessary, and anything that you could maybe give from a tip perspective to other people who are like, okay, we literally need to rebrand, but how do we think about this?
Absolutely. I mean, the TLDR, the too long didn't read of this, is know your consumer and build a brand that is and embodies your consumer. And so, I mean, it's probably worth noting for me, I was with Ogilvy and Mather
Hmm.
for a little over 5 years prior to coming to SnackNation. So I came in here with kind of fresh ad agency, creative strategy eyes, and saw a brand that had so much potential, had so much consumer demand, had so much brand partner B2B business demand, but didn't necessarily have its identity together. There were a lot of disparate pieces of the marketing funnel, a lot of different messaging and positioning going on. We talked about Snack Nation very differently to an office manager than we do to a brand partner. And so, for any brands that have some sort of two-sided marketplace or subscription service, that's a big initial branding issue to tackle, because when you have multiple target audiences, you have to look at one universal way to speak to all of them and then drill down from there. So for us, we looked at the data. What is the consumer data? Who is the majority of people that we are speaking to? We found out it's about, on the consumer side, 85 to 90% female. Because when you think of who's on the right, I mean, think of office managers, executive assistants,
Hmm.
HR staff, predominantly female. Now, when you look on the brand partnership side, emerging artisanal brand founders, that skews more heavily male. And so we had this kind of interesting juxtaposition, but knew that we really needed to lead more so into the consumer side, because that's who we are, inherently selling to.
Hmm.
And so we said, okay, we need to take this brand that feels, it felt very bold, heavy. There was heavy topography. The colors were, composed of a pretty dark palette. And we took that and we completely turned it around. We hired an outside agency. I had conducted a couple of work sessions internally, but one, getting, executive team members in a room together and then all talking through what our future branding could be, not a great idea. and
Sure.
and trust me, I love our leadership team. We are such an amazing, cohesive group of people, but you have to look beyond yourself. So my tip number one: hire an agency, invest. This is going to be what your brand appears like for minimum 5 years. And then at that 5 year mark, there's probably an iteration or a facelift to be done, right? Because design treatments change, positioning changes, societal trends change. So hire an agency. We hired here, shameless plug for Mistress out in LA. They are an incredible, incredible group. Yeah, they do beautiful work. And so we went through a traditional rebrand scope with them where we compartmentalized it into, let's say, the first part was strategy, the second part was creative dev. So from a strategy perspective, we had the consumer research that we needed. We looked at personas. So if your brand were a brand, who would it be, right? Are you Michelle Obama? Are you Amy Poehler? Are you Channing Tatum? Who are you?
Hmm.
And then how does that person show up? How does your brand show up? Who resonates for your consumer? So went through various stages of strategy, understanding how we talk about SnackNation. We no longer wanted to talk about ourselves as a snack box delivery service. That felt like it was in our past. We were now beyond that. We're a data hub. And so that's where the smart marketplace positioning was born.
Love it. I think at the end of the day, while you're providing a service to many people, how are you navigating messaging to say multiple audiences? Like, are you segmenting your messaging to different people? Is it all the
Yes.
same? Yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit about that.
Sure. So we basically have a master messaging document that can make this really tangible for listeners here. Have a master message. What do you want to lead with? So for us, the way in which we communicate Snack Nation is succinct. We're a smart marketplace where we introduce emerging brands to people they love at key moments, and then you drill down from there. And so we've got that kind of overarching understanding of our position. We have a
Hmm.
vision statement, which is Snack Nation envisions a world where everyone, everywhere has access to clean, delicious food. We, behind that, have our mission statement. This is just textbook branding, right? The mission statement is we exist to inspire more conscious food decisions. We've got our tagline, discover food you love. That's that's the master North Star strategy. Pulling down from there is where we need to understand, okay, how do we talk about ourselves to an office manager who's very different, by the way, from an executive assistant and their needs, very different from an HR person who truly cares about morale and adding value and making sure that people at the office feel cared for by the employer, up to a C-suite person, right? So who cares most about the bottom line? Finance, getting the most out of their people, the CEO. And so that's just on the member side where we have 4 different target audiences. Then you shift to the brand partner side. This is the other side of the marketplace where we're talking about funneling their product through this really smart sampling platform to get them actionable insights.
Amazing. So let's talk a little bit about you. So, well, first off, since we are talking about Snack Nation, we are talking about food. What's your favorite snack?
Oh, I have so many. I'm gonna go with I love a good protein bar, which is probably sounds so boring and anticlimactic. But yesterday was running from here to the gym, and I had the one birthday cake flavored protein bar. It's unreal. They just reformulated.
Mm.
I think previously their sprinkles had artificial coloring, if I'm not mistaken, and now they're completely all natural, clean labeled. And it's pretty amazing.
I just recently had it was a Clif Bar, but it was coconut, chocolate chip, and something else, and it's so delicious.
Yeah, Clif Bar has really, really great formulations.
They've
They're
come so far because I remember back in the day, I really didn't love it, but I would eat it because I was hungry. And now I'm like, oh, these are really delicious to eat.
Yeah, they kind of led the charge. This was about a year or so ago with nut butter filled products. I
Hmm.
don't know if you've ever had those, but they had, I think, like an almond butter filled bar and a few others within that product suite. And then Bobo's oat bars, which is a huge, just an incredible partner for us at Snack Nation, but also just a product that I love as a consumer. They very quickly jumped onto that trend. So the bar category has so many segments. You can have chewy granola, you can have protein based, nut based, but it's really interesting to watch them all evolve.
Cool. So here's a question that might stump you.
Oh,
Um,
don't do that to me. You
I'm
edit
just
this?
curious. I'm just curious what goes on in your head. Um, but what do if there is anything out there, and especially because you're kind of entrenched in the world of digital and marketing, but what do you think will break the internet? And it could be like the next big thing,
So it's not Kim Kardashian's iconic break the internet photo,
right?
right?
Did she
Okay.
break it already?
She broke it, but it's been rebuilt, and we're in the next chapter of how can we break the
Right.
internet.
And it's not going to be the egg either.
Yeah. I mean, the internet is such an incredible place for marketers. It's also such a scary place for marketers. It
Yeah.
is so saturated that I wonder what could break the internet is aborting the internet. Do we
Mm.
do we go into this next chapter, this next decade of marketing, and look at places where consumers are less attacked. And yes, it might be more expensive to roll out TV spots, or, more similar to TV spots at this point is streaming video services. But do we go in that direction, or out of home where you're on billboards and bus wraps and Uber screens? Do we all kind of understand that it's really tough?
I'm curious, by the way, what kind of phone do you have?
I have an iPhone 8 Plus.
Okay. So I've had the iPhone X for since it came out in the last year. And one thing that I've noticed, and I'm trying to use my phone less because, we're in digital and we're in marketing, and, we have to be everywhere. And especially when you're a company like ours, we basically develop massive amounts of user generated content through people, right?
Mm-hmm.
My thumb on my right finger there's something wrong with it because of too
Same.
much phone use.
It's so crazy you say that. I actually have thoracic outlet syndrome, which sounds like some breed of dinosaur, but it's really just repetitive strain injury.
Yeah.
And I
I
got
think I
it.
have it too.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not even kidding. I think I'm doing these very weird motions, and I feel like if I'm having a problem like this, the children of the future are not going to be able to use their fingers.
I see a world where all of the manufacturers for any product that we're using day in and day out, think about your laptop, your phones, even cars, equipment at the gym. I see a world where they become and transition to something that's more ergonomically sound. The consumer behavior is there, but I think the consumer complaints are going to continue to rise. And I see a world where there is an ergonomic iPhone, and I'll be the first to buy it.
I'm with you. I'll second that.
Okay, great. Let's lobby for it.
Exactly. Well, listen, it was great to have you on the show. Thanks for making me hungry.
Anytime. You'll have to shoot me your address and I'll get you a snack box ASAP. It's not going to solve your short-term hunger right now, but let's give it 3 days.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.
Thank you for tuning in to Marketing Mix. We hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Be sure to share and subscribe. Until next time, take care.